And he's not a localized deity. He's the God of the whole earth, and his absolute authority extends everywhere, not just over Babylon and its kingdom or this Egypt and its kingdom. And you see that repeatedly, tohu wabohu, formless and emptiness, is now being given form. Verse 11, then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land bear fruit, etc. And the land produced, and the trees bore. And God saw that it was good. In verse 13, there was evening and there was morning on the third day. And there again is the repetition. What is God doing here? And remember the context of Israel and the ancients. This is what God is doing. He says, he takes responsibility and credit for creating all of earth's plant life, wild and domestic. Israel's God alone is responsible for agricultural fertility, not the sun, not another god. Israel does not ever need to give any kind of sacrifice to those other gods. And in this table here, you see the symmetry that we're working through right here. On days 1, there's one creative aspect, light, a form, getting rid of formlessness. On day 4, there's one creative act or aspect, filling, light, sun, moon, and star. Day 2, there's one creative act with 2 aspects. The dome is created, separating sea and sky. In day 5, there's one creative act with 2 aspects. Inhabitants are created, the fish and the birds. You see the symmetry there going down? And always, the movement is from heaven to earth. The movement is increasing freedom from a set course the moon and suns will follow, to a range that animals will follow, to humanity, which has unlimited access. All of these things, and there's a lot more involved that we don't have time to go into. In the form, movement is static, but when things begin to be filled, there's great movement. Progress is always from heaven to earth, and that's important. At the very beginning, progress is from heaven to earth. God is coming and doing this here. And at the very end of Scripture, where is the movement? Is it from earth to heaven? No, it's from heaven to earth. In the new creation and in the heavenly Jerusalem that comes. That's for tomorrow. On the 7th day, it's unique and never-ending and so forth. And so that chart gets a bit ahead of us, but you see the symmetry. So Israel is being told, don't sacrifice to these other gods. I created all of these things for you. Notice plants are created before the sun or rain or seasons. Understanding the cosmogony, understanding the genre that this is written in, we don't have to do any backflips or distortions in order to make this fit. The ancients knew sun and rain were necessary, but Israel further knew that God was the real source of life. And so in this context, modern scientific concerns are utterly foreign. God was no more concerned about making this account match the science that you study than he was about making it match the science that Shakespeare studied. But he is absolutely concerned with all of us getting the theology right and his redemption history and world mission right. Okay? And so all attempts to harmonize this cosmogony with the scientific theories of our or any other age miss the point. The point is theological. It's not scientific or materialistic. It's theological. Verse 14. God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate day from night. Let them serve as signs to mark seasons or sacred times and days and years. Let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light to the earth. And it was so. God put the sun up there. That's not a god. You don't have to worship that. You don't have to sacrifice human beings to that. Don't romanticize cultures. Any culture. We all need to be redeemed. 100%. God fills the static spheres with moving things that will fill the sphere or form and rule it. These lights are not gods to be feared. They don't control human destiny. Burn your astrological chart. Don't be afraid. Don't make sacrifice. God rules. Israel's God names them and therefore controls them and gives them destiny. That's how the A&E people thought. They exist for His pleasure and for the good of earth and its creatures, especially humanity. You don't exist to serve them. They exist to serve you. God alone is creator, to be feared and worshiped. And all of these great powers of creation, God rules them. Verse 16. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, and the fourth day. And you see over and over all the repetitions and symmetries. And again, we see what Israel saw. This story is not being told as straightforward chronological history. It is dischronologized. Remember that? Remember Genesis 10 and 11. Remember Jeremiah. Remember the apostles and the Gospels. Okay? That means that the author is intending to make a theological point. And his point is, God is greater than sun, moon, and star. God is the source of light. God created all these things. As is true everywhere else, dischronology means this is a theological telling.